involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results.
So stressful. World's on fire. Good God. I can't look at this, guys. Like, my strategy is you buy it and you hope that you gotta get spotted. Yeah, but we all think you're crazy. You don't fight this. No way. The markets are freaking out and you don't think that anything is wrong? Come back tomorrow and I'll lose it all. Should be fun.
Good morning. So I'm sorry I'm so late, guys. I had a meeting with somebody this morning and it just kind of went over. I see a couple of new names there. So the news just hit here. I haven't looked at it yet. I did get out of my 10-year treasury trade, by the way, at 26.5. I am surprised that the treasury yield is going down. What? What's going on? Okay, what do we got here? What is the number? What is the number? Unemployment change. Oh, that's Canadian. Where's the... Okay. Non-farm payrolls, December, negative 140 versus 71. Okay, so it's worse than expected. It's not terrible. Oh, no, wait. It is negative when they were expecting a positive number. So that is very bad. Unemployment rate did go down from the survey. Non-farm payrolls, private, negative 95 versus 98. Average hourly earnings was spot 8 versus spot 2. Okay. I see. That's why the Treasury's trading down. The E-mini trading down initially, pulling back a little bit. I have not heard. Oh no, wait. Are we talking about? I think we know Shadow Trader. You guys asking there in chat? Oh no, wait, that's somebody else. Spectre. There's this guy named Spectre Trader that has a YouTube channel that posts regularly in our stocks and options channel in Discord. But don't know these other guys. But if we can, I would prefer that we not talk about other communities. Not that I have anything against them or that we're trying to I don't know, censor other people and only promote ourselves or anything like that. But just that you really run the risk of, doing something dumb or saying something dumb or, getting entangled with another channel that we don't want to do that. So it probably is better overall if we just not talk about other channels. Even though I know we do it all the time. Okay, so let's just pull up the volume profile here and go into it. Did you get no Bitcoins? Oh my gosh. Okay, so here you see the Treasury. The Treasury did move down overnight. Like I said, I took it off at 24.5. So I'm pretty happy with that. I don't know. I think that there's some real risks to the yield coming in here. And I don't want to hold it over the weekend. So that's why I took it off. Coming into oil's moving higher. Gold is moving down. And this is the one that concerns me, frankly, that gold is moving down. What about copper? Copper is flat. So I don't know what gold is doing. There may be some short-term supply things that are ending up influencing gold, but I don't know what that one is. Good morning, Lobo. Where's Bitcoin? So Bitcoin is over 40K now. It's kind of funny when I look at these. It's like I don't really get a lot of new bars for whatever reason, but they are at 42 now. So they had a really deep plunge yesterday, and then it come right back. So buy high, sell super high. No, I'm not, until it comes down to a level that my indicator says is oversold. I am not touching it. So, okay. So because of all that, I haven't eaten. I need to go get something to eat. What can I eat that's quick? All right. Well, I have to say that report, that jobs report, was really bad. The personal hourly earnings, average hourly earnings being spot 8 is really crazy. So I'm not surprised that the treasury yield moved down, and I'm wondering if they will continue now. Now I'm looking at this and I'm like, oh man. I mean, this isn't good for the equities, but I don't know. The equities could shrug it off, right? The equities could shrug it off. Negative real yields have sapped demand from Naira bonds. That's unlikely to change over the coming months as the central bank keeps its policy rate low to boost economic growth. From the report, in December, employment in leisure and hospitality declined by 498,000, with 3/4 of the decrease in food services and drinking places, negative 372,000. Employment also fell in the amusements, gambling, and recreation industry, and negative 92,000, and in the accommodation industry, negative 24,000. Since February, employment in leisure and hospitality is down 3.9 million, or 23.2%. That sucks. It looks like the E-mini is going to try and recover this. We'll see what happens. I'm going to let them sort it out. You can get something to eat. What did I miss while you guys was tweet talking before I got in? Hey, you just Axelrod and Pierre chatting with each other. Okay. So that's all very interesting. I think that we could have some trade during the, oh man, see, look at this. The E-mini is actually going to try and go above the news price. I'm going to walk away from it for a little bit. I'll be back, okay, guys? Okay. Axelrod asks if anyone's been here has been consistent over 10 years. Yes, actually, there are a number of people here that have been consistent over 10 years. I can think of like 3 or 4, actually. Okay. So I got some food here. I'm going to eat my food, but they are up higher now in the E-mini. Which I kind of was wondering if that's what they were going to do. Now, the Treasury yield is higher. Slightly. Treasury yield went higher slightly, and then they're pulling back here. Oh, this is interesting. So there's this thing I was looking at. They were talking about it on Zero Hedge, and I was kind of like, oh, why didn't I think about that? But they're getting to the point now where the yield has become so good, or not good, but relatively speaking, that there's like a spread between the US and Euro treasuries again. And when that happened, we got a lot of people buying the treasuries up because of it. And I'm wondering if we're seeing that effect come in again. If it did, you could see some dollar strength come in again, and that could really screw up a lot of the correlations we've had. But for now, the market seems to be okay. Okay with what has happened here. I mean, I guess we were kind of expecting the jobs report to not be very good. I have to say, it was really bad. It was really bad compared to the consensus expectations. This whole thing is just kind of hilarious, right? Because they're moving up, and is it like the, buy all the things, easy central bank money forever trade? I mean, come on, look at it. What's your meal? I have bacon and an English muffin. I know, it's pretty sad. SVN, thanks for that explanation. Been wondering what's up with bonds. Yeah. I wish that was a sufficient explanation, but probably isn't, is it, SVN? Like, I mean, one thing, a big thing we got to remember is that the average hourly earnings was spot 8 versus an expected spot 2. That is almost certainly why the treasuries traded lower initially. But now that they're moving up, yeah, I think that this has to be a combination of them expecting the central banks to continue to be easy, and perhaps the spread between US and Euro bonds. Now that scenario where, people start moving over into the US treasuries versus the Euro bonds, probably isn't what's going on at this exact moment, because the dollar index is now at 89.6. So, the dollar is just getting crushed, down 0.2, down 20 cents. That might be maybe more why the E-mini is moving up a little bit here. You can see there, though, that at the top they hit back really hard. The trade is not in treasuries. The Fed will keep rates down. Nah, well, so first of all, MMT is not a thing. So, like, just remember that saying that we're going to buy treasuries and that we're going to keep interest rates low is not modern monetary. They are not equal to each other, okay? Modern monetary theory is much more than that. It's part of it. No, it's part of normal standard monetary policy for the last 100 years. This is what they do, man. If there's slack in the economy, then they print more money and put it out so that it's easier to lend to boost economic activity. They've been doing this for 50 years, and if not longer. There's nothing unusual about that. Modern monetary theory is something very, very different. Modern monetary theory is basically suggests that you, like, as the reserve currency, you basically can't devalue your currency. That the value of the dollar is uncorrelated to what we do with monetary policy and fiscal policy. But that is so obviously and clearly wrong. And I mean, the action that we've seen in the treasuries since the U.S. election, and particularly this past week, are bona fide proof of that, right? That doesn't control the yields. And if you put out too much money out there, somebody has to buy those yields. And the central bank can't necessarily do it all. There's a certain point at which the market will not put up with it. Nobody is going to want to buy treasuries except for the Fed. Well, if there's actual panic, then they will. I mean, that's the thing, is that, right? That's the funny thing about all of this, is that the U.S. They want to keep everything low and easy for them, but the market clearly thinks that that's not going to happen because they've been on a good path. And even with that negative jobs numbers, it seems like that the market is undeterred, right? But I will warn you. Oh, wait, I want to tell a story, but I'm going to finish eating first before I tell you guys this story. Okay. So let's talk about this again, because this has been the story for the whole time I've been in the markets, man. I remember the whole thing with Mohammed El Rain, and he was the head at PIMCO, and he said that quantitative easing was a huge disaster mistake, and that the markets were going to go down, and that them doing that was a really bad omen, and this and that. And so they made some allocation decisions over at PIMCO that really cost them, and that's why he's not in charge at PIMCO anymore, right? So here's the thing. People have been arguing about this from the beginning of the Federal Reserve, really. Will nobody want to buy treasuries except for the Fed? Well, no, that's not. I mean, that's hyperbole, right? There are some people out there that literally have to buy them. They don't have a choice. Okay. Will those people always will that always equal the number of treasuries that the U.S. government is putting out? No. And that's what we've been seeing lately with the yields moving up because of that. The government is taking on too much debt. They have to issue too much debt, and that overwhelms the buyers and pushes the yields up. Now, the Fed can come in and they can buy treasuries. And an interesting thing happens when the Fed buys treasuries. When the Fed buys treasuries, everybody else wants to buy them too. Because they know that they can just turn around and sell it back to the treasury. To the Fed. So, there's a lot that they can do on that front, right? But there are still market forces. There's still market forces that are going to equalize out, right? Like it is with the currencies and so forth. Like they could come in and they could just buy all of the treasuries to keep the yields low, and then that would have impact on the currency to the point where you're no longer the dominant currency. Frankly, it could happen. Unlikely, but it could happen. And this is where the modern monetary theory people are crazy and why nobody takes them seriously. Because anybody that is a real observer of markets watches these things and knows that the market reacts in real time to what the government is doing in ways that are contrary to what modern monetary theory says they do. Right? But this whole cycle that we get right now, this is not the first time I've been through this, right? You gotta remember that I first started watching the markets and trading in the 2008 crisis. I haven't been trading futures, and I certainly haven't been trading live that whole time, but I've been looking at the chart every day. And I remember there after the financial crisis, I just barely started, and thinking I'm a genius, like, wow, I've doubled my money and everything. Maybe I'm good at this. Well, I saw the turn. For whatever reason, beginner's luck, I saw the turn. But then the thing and the point that I wanted to make was that after a huge financial crisis like that, there's always knockoff effects. There's always knockoff effects. And this idea that everything will just be hunky-dory and there won't be any consequences is just absolutely ridiculous and has been proven out time and time again to be false. Okay? Last financial crisis, it was really the Eurozone that felt it, right? There was the Euro crisis, and there was all that stuff, and it seemed like every other year or so we would have like a big panic that, in my opinion, completely qualified for a bear market crash. It's just that because of the central bank easing, it didn't go down that much. But if it wasn't for the central bank easing, it would have been another full-on crash. Right? And I would expect that during the Joe Biden presidency that we will continue to see that behavior. Periods of really strong bull movement and then short bear markets of 3 to 4 months where it just looks like the world is falling apart, you know? And it's coming. It's coming. You watch. It's not going to be up forever. Bitcoin's so beautiful. I don't think so. I think it's scary as hell. I have to wonder, what is the impetus that makes you think, okay, I'll come in and try and get him talking about Bitcoin. Everybody else is talking about Bitcoin. I'm sure there's plenty of places that would love to shoot the bull with you about how Bitcoin's going to 100,000 or whatever it is. No, it's overbought. I can only say it so many times before I get sick of it, right? But it's coming. It's not sustainable. Okay, I'm going to take my plate back here and get a better Kleenex. I will be right back. Okay, so the E-mini is like right at our byline. Kind of wondering here. That's time for Ace to pop in. I don't know. This looks like I could take it as a long here. I guess I might as well try. Dominion sues Powell for defamation, seeking $1.3 billion. Whoa. What's your thoughts on FT? Is that a stock? Future FinTech Group? No opinion. So if you want to know about specific stocks, I'm the wrong person to ask. We trade futures, I trade the index as a whole, or much more about the macro view. I'm a macro news trader, basically. Okay. So making a little bit of a push, but then kind of cascaded back. So there's a high probability of reaching $1 million than with trading. I don't know about that. I think that if you get to the top of the YouTube scam world, you probably could make millions of dollars, yes. But most of these guys probably don't make all that much from it. Now you can make millions of dollars being a YouTuber. I don't make anywhere near that, but I'm sure that some of these guys, like some of those guys that are like in the hundreds of thousands of subscribers in the stock space. Well, I mean, look at Graham Stephan. I love that guy, and he ain't pushing anything unsightly. Is that the right word? He's not pushing anything questionable. I think he gives really great advice, and it's a channel that I would totally recommend watching. And he probably makes more than almost anybody else on YouTube. Him and Baya Heza, man, those guys are making millions of bucks on their YouTube's channel because the CPI, the amount that you make per 1,000 views in the financial space is insane. You know, 2 guys in your country that are amassing more than 1 million? Oh, okay. I mean, in trading scams or something else? Is it the issue that you get into with day trading, particularly in the futures space, is that the audience is not that big. According to my research, we get a solid 1/3 to 40%, 30 to 40% of the overall futures market audience per month. Forex scams? I don't know. You sell, like, the thing is, you go out and you sell a course and you sell that course for like $2,000 or something, and you're probably going to get like 2 or 3 customers a month. So I don't think these guys are making millions of dollars, but they can certainly live off of it. No, why is okay, that wasn't the Zero Hedge. There's another trader that I followed that changed his name to Zero Hedge and he never changed it back. I'm like, why is he quoting Kamala Harris? So no, I'm not. Well, so when I say 30%, like, let me qualify that, okay? If you go onto Google and you look at like keyword insights, right? And I can't even remember what tool I use, but I've tried it on a bunch of different ones. Like, I'll be on TikTok and somebody will say, "Here, you use this keyword search tool," and so I'll go and check it out. Then I'll look up futures trading. Okay, so in any given month, there are about 10,000 people that search for futures trading, right? And our channel has 4,500 subscribers right now, and you know, X thousand views per month and whatever. So when it comes out, it turns out that there is actually a quite limited audience that are interested in specifically futures trading. And when you look at the YouTubers out there that specialize in that, myself, Futures Trader 71, Anthony Crudelli, and both of those guys are people that are way more knowledgeable and reputable than myself. But you know, you go and you look at those channels and they're not exactly huge either. And why is that? It's because the audience for futures trading is actually really small. And we all hold a small portion, you know, a quarter or whatever it is of that audience. So I don't know. You can game out the numbers yourself from there, but the average number of people that search futures trading per month is about 10,000. And that's probably the overall futures trading audience is a lot bigger than that. But that's the people that are searching it on YouTube or on Google. I don't know why I'm following this person, but they're retweeting somebody at Marc-Andre Fongern. And he says, two things are being underestimated by market participants. One, the U.S. economy's ability to recover at a faster pace than the rest of the world, fiscal stimulus being key. And two, a resulting less dovish Fed. Oh, okay. They think that the bonds should be moving down, I guess. Except for that Korean guy, I don't know who you're talking about. Now, of course, the thing is that if you expand it beyond futures trading and you go to trading as a whole, or even better yet, finance as a whole, then the audience gets a heck of a lot bigger. And that's how some of these other day trading guys just get huge. Okay. Well. The big thing again on YouTube is that I research this constantly. And, you know, what is it that you do to grow your channel and things like that? And it literally comes down to two things. How much of the video people watch, which for a live stream isn't really a relevant metric, and what your thumbnail and title is. So you're going to get a lot of people that, according to the YouTube algorithm, or according to what people click on, have better titles and thumbnails than myself. And that they're going to get much larger channels, right? So for me, I come in, I try and keep it focused on macro factors and futures trading. And so there's, you know, people aren't as interested in it, you don't get as much. But if you go out and you target the larger trading audience and you make a flashy thumbnail that flashes a big number in front of you that people can't help but click on, you get a lot more people watching. But then, you know, if I had 3K people watching the channel, then we would have to deal with, you know, me constantly telling people, oh, I don't talk about stocks. No, that's dumb. This, you know, this and that, right? I guess South Korea has more futures traders. I don't know. Well, that's what I was saying. Like, he's probably has targeted the larger audience than just the keyword futures trading. There you go. I mean, like at a certain point, so our channel is getting to 5,000. I'm still focused on futures trading because I'm still not as proficient as I would like to be. I think we're getting better, but I still have spotty times, right? Oh, which reminds me, I didn't turn on the robots. The robots is a key factor here, guys. Fourier would have gone long. Okay. So, and there's a number of videos that I'm still making. So I get the news one is coming. When we hit 5K, we will do the Trading Nirvana video. There's a couple of other things. Gonna get into market microstructure more with videos. So I think we still have another year or two worth of content to do. But after that, if we want to continue growing the channel, we probably will have to broaden things. So they're also very consistent, and people do love that. Oh, thank you. Well, I do it every day. And if that's consistent, I don't know if I would say that the amount that my profitability is consistent, because it's certainly not. Like, that's what frustrates me so much about it, is that I'll go through time periods where it's just I know what's going on and I can't lose, and then I lose at every trade. And I have no clue what's going on. And I have no clue why I have no clue what's going on. I don't know what is the thing that I should be trading off of that I'm missing, that, you know. Well, that buy went pretty good, don't you think? I need to stick to the 16 ticks, but we're on a win streak here. U.S. reports more than 4,000 COVID deaths for the first time as the outbreak grows worse than ever. The sun.co.uk has a article comparing Elon Musk with Jeff Bezos. They're looking at all of their cars and mansions and space stations. What the... Eagle says, I think there isn't live YouTubers who are making consistent profit. Can I rephrase that? Did you mean to say I don't think there is a live YouTuber that makes a consistent profit from their trading? Is that what you meant to say? To be more clear. Sheldon Adelson taking leave of absence for cancer treatment. Interesting. Yes, that's what he meant to say. Oh, what's Scott Adams saying here? From now on, it appears that every legitimate protest will be infiltrated by bad actors perpetuating violence and destruction. That's the beginning of the end of public protest. Free speeches already have gone. Scott, it was always that way. It's always been that way, Scott. Yes, no one is. Yeah, so... Okay. I mean, I don't know if there's a day trader that's reliably consistent, but on YouTube, I mean, I certainly haven't seen somebody that I researched and it showed that they had a really consistent strategy and this and that. And I believe the reason is because that there is just not short-term futures traders, retail futures traders that are truly consistent to the level that we want, you know? I think that of those of us, especially those of us that are going into scalping, we want a strategy that makes us money every day, you know? We want to make money every day. We certainly want to make money every month because we want to make a living out of it. And I know people that make a living out of it, but I don't think that they are as consistent as we think they are. Even those guys here in chat that are really good, okay? Like we're talking about like Ace and Gary Rich and Uzi and all of these guys. So these are all guys that we've had in our channel for a long time. Some of them have even shown me broker statements before, so I can verify that they've made money in the past, okay? And they do well. And when we're sitting here talking to them in chat, it seems to us like they're always doing well. But the reality is that they have drawdowns too. And I know for a fact that they have unprofitable months, right? So that's kind of the thing, is that our expectation of what a consistent profitable trader is probably not realistic. Because he says yes. Oh, because he heard his name. So just for example, with Uzi, you guys remember earlier, was it earlier this year? Well, there was a time period where we didn't see him very much because of all the hurricanes and all that sort of stuff. But then before that, remember there was like that 1 month where it was just like, for whatever reason, shit just wasn't working for him. And he was, and we commiserated with it. I wasn't doing very well at the time either. I mean, a lot of it is just the market itself, right? But, you know, and that's certainly going to be the case for me. I mean, look at it. The further that I go, I mean, this week really, really hits it home for me that the thing that tends to make me money is when there is a macro change and it's really obvious, you know? Oh, he's saying no, because you're right. Consistency to the observer is never losing. The beginning of this year was a big crush for me. Back to normal now, but yeah, shit hits the fan hard and quick. Exactly. So for me, this changed Joe Biden, the Senate Democrats taking over the Senate, and the likelihood of greater fiscal stimulus coming out is a really obvious, really big macro change that we took trades off of. And even though I'm only trading at Sim here, I 100% would have taken the same trades live, and, well, not the treasury one, wouldn't take the treasury one and held it overnight, but I still would have made, you know, $500 that Tuesday, well over $700 that Tuesday. Oh, well, one contract, right? Because of the news. But does that happen every day? It doesn't happen every day, right? And the biggest thing for me is probably knowing when I have that and when I don't and not trading it, right? This year hasn't even began really yet, yeah. Yeah, sorry, not this year, last year. At the beginning of 2020. There's Ace. Ace, I kind of took your signal and I got a winner off of it. You missed it. I dream of a world where a chicken can cross the road without having his motives questioned. I might steal that and post it on Facebook today. That's great. I mean, it's not the first time I've heard a joke to that effect, but your wording is great. All the damn time just kind of blends together now. It could be in 2013, bro. Right? Okay, so I don't know if I'm going to be able to put it out on Monday. I don't think I'm going to be able to put it out on Monday, so I might make a video about like Bollinger Bands or something like that this weekend. But I'm making a video about trading the news. Okay, because I really strongly feel that retail traders sleep on trading the news. And I'm not saying that there aren't other edges and that you should only rely on the news, but it is a significant edge that I think you can't avoid. You can't afford to ignore. So I went through and I said, here are the kinds of moves that I see, like the kind of edges. Like here's this one where the news came out and it didn't react right away, and then later it reacted. And those are the greatest, right? And so I go through and I found specific instances of those. Don't think I'm gonna go and like pull the old video out of them per se, but I do show you the chart, and I even show you if I traded those live, because a couple of those I traded live and I made good money on them, right? So I was going through all of that, and some of them were really far back. Some of them were a really long time ago, and I could like barely even remember that stuff until I went back and I had to go and like research the news and figure out what was going on, because the way that I found them was I went through my own trading and I found like the biggest winners essentially. So there was many times where I had to figure out why it moved the way that it did and stuff, and it was so crazy. Okay, so I went by your advice, but does not work. So please, what do you mean by trading news? Do you mean economic events and numbers? Okay, so when I mean news, what I would define it as any information that is external to the market, which means it's not generated by the market itself and changes people's expectations of the future. So anything that does that could be considered breaking macroeconomic news to me. So if we have a non-farms payroll like we did today, that is a piece of information that is not generated by the market, right? It doesn't happen at the exchange. It's a survey that the government does, and the release of that changes market participants' expectations of the future. You're going to take it short in here somewhere? All information is external to the markets. The new day comes on all the time, the weather, it is news or traders input. Yeah. Well, not all information is external to it. Okay. So like the price of a commodity. So like if we had a big move in the dollar, for instance, right, that is generated by the market. So that's different, right? That's technicals. So really it comes down to like everything that's not technical information, right? Or technical analysis. Anyways, I digress. Okay. So, for example, is oil storage would be part of the news? Yeah. So the reports about how much oil there is in storage or how much output there is coming from the oil, those would all be examples of trading the news. Yes. Okay. So now there's some components. There's some components to it, right? Because I think that when we say trade the news, we think, okay, listen to what the news squawk says and then decide what I think it means and trade it in that direction. It's more sophisticated. You have to be more sophisticated than that. Okay. So herein we have to consider a number of things. First, we have to consider how the market was positioned before that news came out. So were people taking it long on the day? Were they taking it short on the day? What was their positioning? And next is what were they expecting on the news, right? So we came out, that's why we have these market expectations about like what the market expects the unemployment number to be, right? So you have to factor what is the change and how significant of a change is it, right? The next thing that you have to consider after that is what kind of inefficiency is actually being created by the release of the news. So if it's a piece of economic news that is really clear and it's just like a straight number and the market makes a quick move off of it and then it's done, right? That's really hard to take advantage of. And in fact, what's going to happen is you're going to do all that analysis, you're going to take a trade, and then it's going to stop you out, right? I'm sure you've had that happen many, many times before. So we have to take a step back and think about, okay, did the release of this news create a market inefficiency? Okay. And this is where things like, for instance, here in the Treasury today, I think the way that you probably would have wanted to play it is that we had a personal income number that was spot 8 versus spot 2, which is quite bearish for Treasuries. So there was quite a bit of flow going all over the place, but in the end, the yield has risen in the Treasury because of that piece of news. So that's a place where you could have sat back and you could have identified it, right? You could have said, okay, well, the market is flipping around here because they don't understand how much the personal income number affects inflation in the long run. And having such high personal income number suggests that the Federal Reserve may have to deal with inflation sooner than it wants to, right? Define inefficiency. So an inefficiency means that the market hasn't correctly priced in the value of the asset based on the information that is available to you. Right? So that's where you got to go in and you got to say, okay, so what's the piece of news? What does it change people's expectations? And has it actually changed people's expectations yet? Or is it going to take some time for it to change their expectations? And when it's something where it takes, a few hours for everybody to realize it and figure it out, and you can figure it out right away because you understand the market well enough, those are the trades where you can make big money. And then the last thing is that you've got to be able to watch the order flow and be nimble on it still, because there can be a lot of market volatility during those times. And so you have to give yourself enough leeway. You've got to be able to get in at a good risk reward location that will allow the trade to run through. And then again, the issue, you go into it in this video, but the biggest issue is that trades like this don't happen every day. So you kind of want to have supplemental strategies. My experience with trying to trade the news is that the market moves faster than you can trade on the news. Well, yeah, and a lot of the time it does that. That's where I'm kind of saying, like, you don't necessarily want to trade that one. The one where the number comes out and the robots read the number and the market, slips 8 ticks on you in the treasury, and then that's the end of the move. That's not the one that you want to trade, right? The one that you want to trade is like the one that we've had here this morning. This one. Okay, so at first it did do that. They moved up and then down, and then they came all the way back. So they did the move and they retraced it. Now you can sit down and you can say, well, why did they retrace it? Should this move actually push the treasuries down? And in this case, I think you can say that it can. In this case, I think you can say that it can. You can say, no, the average hourly earnings was really bad. They're going to sell this. And you could have sold it. Now, I didn't do that today because we didn't get ready on time. was most of it. Plus, it's non-farms. I don't know. Sometimes, it's too volatile. You do kind of want to avoid it. NJ says expected events are harder to trade. That's certainly true. So one of the ones that I talk about a lot in the video is like, there's some where there were like Donald Trump tweets, and it's like, okay, you read that and you know that the market's going to react to it, but like it doesn't do it all at once because not everybody had that piece of information, So I was able to take it and then just kind of watch it as it went. Okay, so that bot there and did a stop loss. Which strategy was that? Oh, it was the squeeze. Okay. Well, that's okay, I guess. Oh, and Brandon took one too. Oh, but it wasn't in it early enough. Okay, so that one we kind of have to ignore. You were wrong all the time about Bitcoin? Well, I don't know if I'm wrong. I mean, if I had bought it and lost money, then I would have been wrong. If I had gone outright short and I had lost money, I had been wrong. But if I come in and I say that within a reasonable midterm time frame, Bitcoin is going to crash, I'm not necessarily wrong yet. Although we did think that it was going to happen before the end of the year, and that was wrong. I just have COVID, Gary. I was getting a little worried about it yesterday because I feel okay. I'm not coughing a ton. I don't really have a runny nose. My throat, it feels kind of uncomfortable. Yeah, I have COVID. I have a positive test right now. I am quarantined to the house. Yeah, extremely unlikely. Did I say it was extremely unlikely it was going to go to 40K? I don't know. Maybe I said that. I'm still saying it's overbought. I mean, that's if there's one thing I can say that I'm confident about, it's overbought. The problem with when you're saying it's overbought is it's difficult to know how far it's actually going to go. It's really easy to see that something is overbought, but very difficult to take advantage of that. Whereas it's very difficult to see when something is oversold, and it's very easy to take advantage of that. Oh, Packhead was hospitalized the week of Christmas with it? Really? Well, anyways, so yesterday when I got off work, I feel sleepy. I haven't been working out. Maybe I should go work out, but I really want to go and take a walk, but I need to stay in the house, but then I get done from work and I feel tired and I don't fall asleep, but I just get under a blanket and I just try and rest, I guess you could say, right? And I'm sitting there and I can kind of feel that it's like, I can hear it in my throat or whatever, even though I'm not coughing up a lung all the time. And I'm sitting here and I'm like, am I getting pneumonia? I mean, I need to get the stethoscope. I don't have that. I don't know what to do, Put a mask on. I guess I'll say. They're going to go through the Ethernet port. This is an interesting and somewhat choppy open for a non-farm payroll day, don't you think? We do get wholesale inventories at the top of the hour. And Fed's Claridia is I have COVID. Maybe I shouldn't tell you. What's going to happen when they come for the COVID? There's going to be, I'm telling you, it's going to be something in the future. They're going to be like, oh, everybody that caught the coronavirus, they're dangerous and we need to do something about them. And they're going to come for me. Just because I caught coronavirus doesn't mean I'm less of a person. Anyways, everybody's telling me to take vitamins and stuff. I'm trying to I'll go and find the window and I'll sit under the window. Is it like rainy today or something? Because it's not very bright out there today. Must not be much sun. Anyways, the worst of it was on Sunday when I was getting like chills and stuff. And remember, I was kind of a little weird on Monday and Tuesday. I wasn't. I think that it even affected my trading and decision making those days. Do I have pneumonia? Okay, we'll take the quiz. I don't think that I do, but when I got sick at the beginning of last year, I thought that I had pneumonia, and then by the time I actually went in to do anything about it, they said they said that I didn't have any signs of pneumonia. Do you have a cough? Yes. Do you have a fever? Not at the moment. No. Have you had any chills? Yes. Chest pain, tightness, or discomfort? No. Does taking a deep breath trigger pain? No. Are you coughing up bloody spout? No. Wheezing. Do you have any wheezing? I'm going to say I don't know. Have you had any difficulty breathing? Let's say yes. Bottom, yes. Brown, no. Opaque or filled with pus. Is it opaque or filled with pus? No. Is it foul smelling? So I'm going to guess that it's going to give me a no. Oh, the AI says it has a hard time interpreting my results. Maybe you got infected. No. So this is the story. I was gonna tell you guys about this earlier because I was like pretty sure that I had it, but I was like, I should confirm that I actually have it before I start saying stuff. So I caught it from my brother-in-law. So what happened was their son got sick. And so they said, oh, well, maybe he has COVID. So they went and got him tested, and he tested false, and he didn't have symptoms anymore. So we thought he was safe. So then we had Christmas Eve party. So we go over there, and they didn't say anything about that. I don't know if I would have gone if they had said, oh, yes, our son had COVID symptoms, and I would have been like, maybe we shouldn't do this then, right? So I'm really mad about that because they've been like, he's a teacher, so he was like really worried about catching it at school and all of that. So, he was talking about it a lot, and then I caught it from him. It's okay, Justin, I forgive you, but man, I'm really mad that I got it from them. So my wife, but I didn't catch it from them. My wife caught it from them, and then I got it from my wife. So she caught it like last Wednesday or Thursday, and then I started having symptoms on Saturday night, Sunday. Hey, bright side, you don't need a vaccine, but that's the thing. Is they're all saying that even if you get sick, that you won't have immunity. Like, what? The research that I've seen and the experts that I've seen talk about this say that when you catch it, you have immunity for like 3 months, whereas if you get the vaccine, you have immunity for years. Ugh. Makes me mad. Trading with COVID would make a thumbnail. I don't know. That's the thing. I don't know if I want to advertise that I have it, Obviously, I'm staying inside, but it just seems to me like that could somehow end up being a bad thing for you in the long run. You know what I mean? So I've definitely avoided saying anything about it on Facebook. Your story is similar to thousands of others. Let's get together and celebrate Christmas and the New Year, right? Yeah. Well, and the thing that makes me so mad about it is that with Thanksgiving, we didn't get together for Thanksgiving. I cooked a really great smoked turkey. I thought that I'm like, how does anybody ever cook a turkey any other way? Because smoking it is so good. It's so much better than any other turkey that I've had. We brined it too, but it was great. So my parents, though, they're worried about getting it because my dad, he's obese, and my mom has asthma problems, so they don't want to catch it, and they're not. They're like in their 50s or 60s. So we didn't do anything. And my parents live down the street, by the way, right? We'd been going and seeing The Mandalorian with them every week. But they were worried about the kids. They're like, well, you guys have been staying inside, but the kids, they go to school and they go to their stepfather's house, and we don't know what precautions their stepfather is doing, and we're afraid that we're going to catch it from them. So this time around for Christmas, we said, okay, we have the kids for the next 2 weeks or 3 weeks or whatever. It was a long time. You guys are not allowed to leave the house. You are quarantined for 10 days. Then that way we're all going to stay in, and that way we know for sure that we do not have it when we go for New Year's Eve, right? So we do all of that, and then not everybody did that, and we caught it from somebody else. Makes me mad. So that's what happened. That vaccine is 5 minutes old. You'll have no idea how long you'll be immune. Well, they're basing it off of like how many antibodies you get. But that's kind of the thing where that really irks me about the vaccine thing is that I don't believe that science really understands the human immune response that well, especially when it comes to how it memorizes certain diseases and ramps it up and things like that. So the presence of antibodies in your system is not a 100% analog to how much immunity you have to it. You know what I mean? But that's what they've been basing it on, is that they say like the amount of antibodies that you have, that people that caught it, they don't have as many antibodies as they want you to. And it could be worse. Why did you leave the toilet seat up? I fell in while in the dark. I have a method for this, actually. Do you want to know my method? There's a method, not that I mean, I always stand up, obviously, but, I have to do, the sit down one at night often. So what do I do? Well, first of all, you might want to get a piece of toilet paper to protect your hand, of course. But you get that, and then you sit down, but you put your hand, and your hand will touch the seat first. You just kind of squat down. So you don't just like plop yourself down. Who does that? Why do you people do that? Don't just plop yourself down on the toilet. Test it first, right? And it's dark, so you can't see. So you just do it with feel. You go to sit down, you touch the seat. Oh, it's not down. So then you bring it down, and then you put the toilet paper in the toilet so that you don't get your hand dirty. You see? There's a solution here, folks. You squat like a... Do you know that in China they don't have toilets the way that we do? That it's just like a little hole and you squat over it? And some people are saying that it's probably more healthy to go to the bathroom that way. What are we talking about? Going to the bathroom now? And then so some other people picked up on that, and they made this product you can buy that's like a little it's like a stool that you put next to the toilet so that you can put your feet up on it and get into that squatting position on a regular. The squatty potty. Exactly. So Uzi knows exactly what I'm talking about. Yeah. Squats are good for cores and thighs. Yeah. Well, I can squat really well, right? Because I do the Olympic weightlifting and we squat ass to ground. I have very good mobility in my hips, and I can squat all the way down to the ground and hold it and stand back up. Wow, so that was a pretty ugly turn back down, wouldn't you say? Was there news there? I see Donald Trump tweeting again. The 75 million American patriots who voted for me, American first, and make America great again will have a giant voice long into the future. They will not be disrespected or treated unfairly in any way, shape, or form. The old-fashioned toilets are the best. Yeah, so the reason that I went through all this, that I know all this, is because I have ulcerative colitis. I don't know if we've talked about this before, but essentially my body seems to think that I have a perpetual infection in my colon, and it attacks my colon for no reason. It's kind of like Crohn's disease, but Crohn's disease is like when it's through your whole digestive tract, and I just have it in my colon. So luckily for me, there's this medication that you can take, and there's these huge pills. And they're not cheap either, by the way. Man, without insurance, it is so effing expensive. It's very frustrating how expensive it is. But because every time that I go to the Walgreens to get it filled, they give me crap. Because the insurance does everything they can to not pay it. But I always get through somehow. Anyways, and it has a special coating so that it doesn't get digested until it reaches your colon, and then it releases the medication, and it's basically just like aspirin for your colon. So it suppresses your immune response in the colon, I guess you could say, to a normal level. So the thing is that they don't really know what causes this. It's this really weird kind of autoimmune thing, and there's all these theories that like, maybe it's because the things that we eat create too much permeability in your gut, and so your body is attacking the food and things of that nature, right? Some people think that there is a bug, some sort of a bacteria that they just can't detect because, your gut flora is so complicated. So basically this creates an environment for a lot of home remedies, right? Everybody has some sort of a crazy solution for it. Like the popular thing, and maybe there's really is something to it, is they say, well, if it's a bacteria, then why don't you get a stool donation and it will set your gut bacteria correct again, and then you'll be fine. And some people have done that, and they said that they got it to go into remission. I don't think it goes away, but I've always been in remission with the medication. So I heard a lobotomy will take care of that. No. Okay, but one of the suggestions that I saw was that it's because we sit on the toilet when we go to the bathroom. Take probiotics. I do that from time to time. I tell you what, the probiotic thing is actually really weird. So when I take the probiotic, it will work really well initially, like the first 3 days, and then after that, it goes back to what it was. It's almost like, I don't know what causes it. It's weird. But the probiotic seems to do something, but it's not a solution. And I've taken different ones. Like you can go to your pharmacy, and there's one that you can get over the counter. Then they keep it like in a refrigerator in the back and everything. And I forget what it's called, but it has like 17 different bacteria strains in it and stuff. So like I even did that. I've tried a couple of different ones, and like I said, it'll work okay for like the first 3 days. It'll seem like, it seems like things are getting better. Maybe it actually works, and then it goes back to what it was. Yeah, my lips are really chapped today. So I'm looking at my inventory bars strategy, and it's kind of a mean reversion strategy, and which it makes me really uncomfortable. But I mean, it seems to be working. The squeeze strat took one, by the way. I think in this case, it shouldn't have taken it because it basically took something off of the open. So I think today I need to go back and backtest the squeeze strat to see if it's taking an unusually high number of trades on the open, because it's trying to take advantage of an increase in volatility, and you're going to get that every day at the open. So is it always going to end up trying to take a trade at the open? And if that's the case, we don't want it doing that, do we? So let's talk about this tweet that Donald Trump put out. So, now what did Richard say? There's a group of doctors in Australia that have a very sophisticated gut biome tests that return 3 levels to be addressed, and they customize a plan to get your gut biome. Oh, I'm interested in that. Bitcoin has surpassed Facebook and market cap. Yeah, about that. So this guy is saying it makes sense that a currency would have a higher market cap than a company. Sure. But do you believe that at the moment there's more money invested in Bitcoin than there is in Facebook? I don't. A reckoning's coming. Trump. Let's talk about it. Here's what I think happened. I think that he said to himself, well, we need to get everybody down here to put pressure on the politicians, and we'll present our evidence, and the politicians will have to vote, and probably will lose, but there will be pressure, and it will be a good thing for the future. And then these people stormed the Capitol, and the Democrats pretended like it was a coup, attempted coup, and all of these sorts of things, which I think is just ridiculous. I just want to point out that, like, these guys in the offices, you know, like taking pictures of themselves in Pelosi's office and stuff, this is not actually the first time this has happened, right? Because there was Democrat protesters did the exact same thing not that long ago. But I digress. I think that when all of that happened and Donald Trump kind of started to see what was going on, he was like, oh shit. Because he was realizing how bad it is going to be for his supporters in the future, right? And that's why I think that he so quickly turned around that he said, okay, guys, go home. You need to just go home. I think that's what it was really about. And so now you can see that he's got his Twitter back online and everything. What is he talking about? That's what he's saying. Because he's realizing he's not going to be president, but he doesn't want the good things that he was able to do for his supporters to just go away. He doesn't want his supporters to be left without a voice. And so he's working to try and blunt that, I think, is what's going on here. We'll see where that goes. So I was looking at, it is not going the way that I thought it would. So first of all, it's totally inappropriate to storm the Capitol that way. I don't think that the people that did that thought that's what they were doing. I don't know. So, like, the thing is they said that they let them in. You know, like the police stepped out of the way and let them go up to the Capitol. I could believe being there and thinking that it was okay for the protesters to go up the steps and be outside of the Capitol and stuff. But to actually go inside Congress and into like the congressional chambers and offices and stuff like that, that is definitely not allowed. And everybody that's there in DC knows it because there's like crazy security to get through. So if you went through with that without going through security, there's absolutely no excuse for it. Okay. So it's definitely wrong. But with all of that said, it was kind of funny to watch the protesters like take pictures in Nancy Pelosi's office and stuff, wasn't it? And it was kind of funny to see how absolutely terrified the politicians were. You know? It's like, oh yeah, you go and burn down all of the poor neighborhoods and all that, so we don't care. But then when it's on the politician's front doorstep, it's real shit. You know what I mean? And when I think of it in that context, it's like, it makes me so mad that there really is this thing going on in this country where the politicians really only care about their own money and their own wealth and the money that they make from the lobbyists and not about us. And there you go, Uzi. They're angrier about having shown their asses than anything else. It's like all of a sudden the politicians aren't so scary, or, you know, like there was this reverence to it, and now all of a sudden it's like, oh, yeah, the politicians are screwing us over and we don't have to put up with it. And that scares them, I think. I think that's what it's really about. And so if that's what it's really about, then the next thing that you would do is you would want to try and take that incident and use it as a cudgel to eliminate that movement at that point, right? To go and say this movement was so evil, and you people are evil, and you need to stop doing what you're doing. And then they'll all stop it, and Donald Trump is gone, and they'll go back to being loser Republicans that just do what they're told, and the grifters can continue to make money, right? But then I go and I look at people's response and I see, oh, but they're not buying it, are they? They think that it's funny that this happened, and even though there's definitely going to be like contention in the Donald Trump ranks, you know, because some of these people really were only about Donald Trump. And the reality is politicians live in another world than the rest of us. That's true, right? Why do you think they bail out banks and shit for it? It ain't for us. Yeah. I mean, they couldn't let the whole financial system fail, but you're right. They're not doing it. Well, let me put it this way. Like all of this stimulus money, they're not doing it for you. Are you kidding me? You know what happens? They take that stimulus money, you use it. That money then goes to Walmart, and then Walmart pays taxes on it, and it comes back to them. Right? They're probably really upset that so many people wouldn't put it in the markets. And they're going to want to try and figure out a way to get that back. Right? If they were only working Americans' money at risk in these banks and the market, the politicians would let it collapse as a matter of necessity. There you go. Many of them enjoy ivory towers standing on their soapbox lecturing citizens. Oh, yeah. Well, this is something else. Did you guys watch Joe Biden's speech yesterday? So he made a big speech. It's so funny. This setup that they've got. It's got like, it says office of the president-elect in the background, which doesn't effing exist. Right? So it's a total propaganda effort. And when he talks, you can hear like the echo. You know, like he is speaking outside to a large group of people. But the reality is he's the only fucking one there. Well, like what the? You're the only guy there. There's you and the guy with the camera, and you're the only one there. Why do you have audio like that? So it's totally a head game, right? And what does he do? He sits in lectures about how these people that attack the Capitol are so evil and all of these things. And it's that same patronizing, lecturing bullshit that everybody was so sick of and got Donald Trump elected in the first place. You know what I mean? And the funny thing about it was this big patronizing speech. All it was to announce what his Department of Justice team was going to be. So it was like, I saw on the squawk, okay, President Biden is talking. That might be an important thing because he might say something about stimulus or who knows. So we got to watch that. And then I have to sit and listen to him for like an hour drone on about bullshit, like nothing. Don't waste my fucking time. I'm sorry I'm swearing. I really need to stop doing that. But man, it made me really mad. I was like, is this what we have to look forward to as traders every time that Joe Biden says something? Because I can't stand this crap. Anyways. Just wanted to make sure I addressed all the comments here. I think we're good. Anyways. I think, though, what is happening is, so I was saying there's some Donald Trump supporters that they were really just about Donald Trump, especially like the QA and on people. They're really in denial about reality. Okay. They thought that Donald Trump was somehow going to win this, that Mike Pence was going to come and reject the things, and then they were going to get the court case that they wanted or something like that, which was a ridiculous expectation. I mean, it wasn't a ridiculous expectation. But that's what they thought was going to happen. Right. And so these people are mad. These are the ones that are going on the Donald right now. They're like attacking Mike Pence and stuff like that. So it's going to take some people a little bit of time to figure it out, because the reality is that Mike Pence did the right thing, right? Donald Trump can hate him for it, but Mike Pence sat down, he looked at the history, he knew that he couldn't do it single-handedly and that Congress had to vote for it, and so he let the process play out, and he did the right thing. And I'm sure that at some point Donald Trump will have to admit that he was wrong to Mike Pence, and that they're going to have to make up. That Donald Trump and Mike Pence are going to have to make up, and his supporters are going to have to get in line. And there's a lot of supporters that really thought that they were going to lead some sort of a revolution or something, which was always ridiculous. And I don't think that was ever what Donald Trump wanted. So those people are going to have to come back to reality. But I hope that once everybody kind of comes back and they come back to the point that it's like, you know what, Donald Trump's not a perfect person, but we want to do something we want to increase the ability of the average American to build wealth. Okay. For first, we want to protect liberties and rights and liberties, right? Is number one, of course. But then number two, we want to increase the ability of average Americans to build wealth. And Donald Trump did that. And so I'm hoping, it seems, at first I thought, well, everything is dead. But now I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, no, there's a chance people understand, and all of this happening doesn't change their opinion that the elites are using government to their own benefit to the detriment of everyone else. You know what I mean? If one can understand sentiment, one can fade this stuff up and down. So explain to me, Gary, how do you use sentiment to make decisions about the up and down that we've had since the open, to know when to do it? I mean, I suppose I could look at the sentiment and say it's going to be a choppy day and find where the range is. Is that what you mean? Yeah, politics have become dirty and nasty for selfish gains on both sides, points diminishing returns. I agree. Well, the thing is that I don't think that the system itself, it causes that to happen. What has caused that to happen is the decisions that the politicians have made. And I really think it goes back to the Bush era. Like, during the Bush era, the Democrat Party kind of made this decision that being as nasty as possible was the best way for them to play the politics. And then it worked, and they got in power, and they put Nancy Pelosi in charge. And when Nancy Pelosi got in charge, they really expanded. I mean, the Democrats always kind of pulled the dirty tricks. But when Nancy Pelosi came along, it really got dirty. And that's when we got into the time period where it's like just nothing happens in Congress anymore, right? So by the time the Republicans had taken Congress back from Nancy and Schumer, the Republicans had basically seen all of the tricks and learned them and spread it online. And so they started doing the same thing. And now you got both sides doing it, and it's just a complete effing mess, right? And I think the only way that you can fix it is you've got to get rid of the people that are in there. Certainly, at the very least, the leadership, even Mitch McConnell, frankly, because I don't think that there's anything wrong with him in particular, other than that he's just been in there for so long, and you need new blood, essentially. So I don't know if it's ever going to happen, though, because there's this thing, it's another thing that drives me crazy is that everybody says that it's that court case that said that money was equal to speech or whatever, that it is not. Okay. So first of all, I'm not so sure that the way that super PACs are run is really legal and should have been a natural extension of that court case the way that it was. Okay. But I do believe that if I want to go and put out a movie ahead of the election, that the government can't stop me from doing that. You know, if the group of us want to put together a commercial or a movie or something, you can't stop us. And I don't think that they can put limits on political expenditures. And I think that the good thing about our system is that with the way that the money is right now, pretty much any politician can get their message out. Like, think about the Democrat primary, man. There was so many people that ran, and they all had their chance. Of course, some of them were never going to go anywhere, right? But they had their chance. And that was a good thing. I think that they had the money to do what they wanted to do. That's a good thing. But the bad thing is that it also makes the money more important. So they spend so much more time worrying about the money. And then all of a sudden, it's like the thing that matters to them is what the people that donate the money are going to do. You know? So then it actually does give the people that are donating power. And that's a problem. I don't think that the solution is that like government funding of them or anything, because that's not going to change it. That just gives the politicians more power. You know what I mean? No, I think that you have to give more power to people. Gary, the politics have moved these markets so well, it's like VIX can only maintain or sustain high volatilities for so long. Okay. You're talking about how like the market will go between extremes of it will be really reactive to news to it won't be very reactive at all to news. And that's kind of what comes to my mind when I think about the VIX and with news. Zero Hedge tweets a quote from Rabobank. Ask yourself, would the markets really have rallied Wednesday if an actual U.S. coup had been happening? But yeah, that's a good point. Like, let's be honest, nobody really honestly thought that a coup was really happening, right? When I look online and what you guys were saying in Discord and everything, it looks like you all thought it was a big joke. And you were all laughing about it. Well, do you think that the E-mini is going to make it to a new daily high? It sure is tight, isn't it? The gulf between buyers and sellers is actually relatively large, so I do think there's a possibility of another push, and I think it could be up. But, I think that maybe I'm thinking that leaning that way more because my robots just took it long. I'm almost kind of thinking if I should have taken another trade in here, but I'm not really feeling a strong need. Like the market's not saying like something's gonna happen and you should take a trade here, right? Yeah, or is it going to just chop all day? It might just chop all day. Here, I mean, you could be right. I don't think that the algorithms that I have really would be able to tell if it's going to be choppy or not. I'm not sure that I myself completely understand how to tell when it's going to shift from being choppy to a trend and vice versa. Manny saying that the ES tried 2 times. Oh. I mean, there was those last moves down. So let's just come back here. Where was it? Yeah, right here. So look at this. Look at this, dude. Isn't that not like effing amazing? There's something to it. There's definitely something to it. When I come in here, I would be on the one range one, wouldn't it? Yeah, text and marker. Okay. I don't know why I didn't put the text
Block
there,
sell.
but oh, look at the treasuries going lower. Maybe I shouldn't have sold. No, you know what? I think that getting out before that news event on that longer term treasury trade was the right thing to do, and I made some good money on it. That was the single largest winner ever. Big Toasty, there you are. How are you doing? Hmm. Wow, how did you do that? There's this person with a name that's not an actual name. Doesn't have a name. Well, I mean, we've been getting okay up movement, but when I look at my R squared, it seems to be suggesting that we're just not getting any trend coming in. It's kind of funny you guys get a little bit quieter because the market is being choppy, but I think that if you had caught a really good excursion like the robot did here, then great. But overall, otherwise, it's probably a good time to shoot the bull and like try to distract ourselves while it's choppy, you know, especially it being a Friday. Because you know, there's usually very diminished action the further along you get in on a Friday. Impossible to trade. Yeah, exactly. Easy to trade, hard to make money. There, yeah. Well said. Oh man. See, this is the part where if Ace was in Discord, we could have him pop on and yap with you guys, but since he's not on Discord, maybe he will figure it. Maybe he will stop trading and he will figure it out. So you go to discordapp.com and log in. And if it won't let you log in, then, you know, go and like reset your password or just make a new account, frankly. And then you have to get your phone attached to it and it will send you like a text. And then it will let you in. Boo, Ace has stuff to do. Yeah. You took a loss there, Chris? I'm sorry. Oh man, that's ugly. Ooh, that was an ugly downturn. It was kind of, well, you know what? I'm gonna test the theory here. You need a scalping robot for price action like today? Well, I have some strat. See, the issue is identifying when it's going to be like this. You know what I mean? I've definitely found some strategies, and they tend to be kind of more along the sort of setup that I think somebody that's thinking price action would go for. So, like, I don't like to use the word price action because it's so vague, but doing things like looking at where we are compared to the last swing and stuff like that. Those seem to have some efficacy in choppy locations. But they overall don't backtest very well because the trends screw them up. You can trade mean reversion all the time if you want, but you stand a much better chance of surviving if you can do both, right? So ones that can do both that really end up doing really well. Okay, well, I think that trade that I took might have just been early, but I'm hesitant to try it twice. Best not to trade when Tesla's going parabolic. It makes you wonder what's going on over there in Tesla, because there's not any like driver for this, right? It's just been going crazy the past several days. I really want to fade it here again, but you know what? The way that it's come down and everything, I keep reminding myself like I really probably shouldn't fight it. Well, it's holding there okay. It's untradeable volatility for you. Yeah, same here. My indicators tell me that there's still not a clear trend. And when we had a volume drop like that, fading it doesn't necessarily make sense. So, yeah, I can't play it either way. And look at that. That was some strong downtrend in there. So the last two downswings were, there's 3801 after the news, right? Right, yeah. So let's call it 3800. And then there's beyond that. Now the treasuries were moving down too, by the way. That might have something to do with it. Maybe it's finally gotten to the point where the treasuries not so nice. Oh, I get a stop loss. Which one was, maybe that was the squeeze one. Or did it just get back in? Did it just take another long here, like right again? Well, if it's going to do that, then I think we should, yeah. Oh man, look at that. So it's actually trading a lot of volume right here. All of them trying to take it long. Mm-hmm. Is Treasuries the easiest instrument to trade? I wouldn't say that it's the easiest. It's the slowest. It's the slowest that has the largest tick and is the most sensitive to order flow. What's Zero Hedge saying? It's okay. The mini correction will quickly push 10-year rates lower, at which point the melt up will resume. Maybe. The treasuries pulled back like a tick or two, but they're not really reacting to this very strongly. The dollar, though, man, oh man. Like, the dollar got crushed on this initially, and now it is rising. And that might be a more clear view of what's going on here. So I don't know why it's
Well, I guess inventory bars took the stop loss and then got in again is what's going on there. Well, I don't know if it's going to come back up to a spot where I feel safe trying to short it. Oh, look at that. I'm wondering if on this one I should try and rock paper scissors it. Like if it takes a loss, if it goes long and it takes a loss, then it shouldn't try going long again until a certain amount of time or that it's caught a winner to account for when it's trending. Because when you look at it, there's definitely some propensity for it to mean revert, but when it's trending down, it ends up being the worst place, right? And we can kind of tell that that's what's happening, but it can't. Oh, so you were asking Ace like what his target is. I think that he's been changing it a bit, but we're talking about doing a 2 to 4 tick stop, and then you're going to take profit on one of the contracts at equal risk reward, and then you're going to have some other contracts that are allowed to run. Yes, is less than 3,800. Is Minution still employed? Asks Zero Hedge. Good grief, dude. I might have missed my opportunity there, man. I don't particularly like the looks of this area here. Down in here. You know, it was a pretty ugly sell move. Well, when you look at it on the larger chart, it looks quite insignificant. So now you kind of have to start to wonder if it's still in a range day and this is just a head fake, or if we're really going to end up with a bad close to the week. I think given the news and macro framework that we have set up here, that it's possible, because that jobs number wasn't very good. And the only reason that the market was buying up earlier this week is expectations of fiscal stimulus, which still provides room for the indexes to decline. Removal vote would sell through GOP. What are they talking about? And apparently Dave Portnoy is experiencing some drama with the newspaper and his dad. At Zero Hedge, dear Federal Reserve, when yield curve control? Why there's tweeting a ton here? So interesting. It's okay, ZH. We can have one down day. It's allowed to have one down day. It's not even like an extended down day yet. They're not to the point where the Minution call comes in, you know? Does Runco help in visualization? I mean, here's the thing. I think that if something helps you and it's just in your head, that's okay, but it's probably also not really going to make you profitable, you know? What should make you profitable is having a setup that is very clear and that you know works. Whether that's your reading of the news situation or it's a specific technical setup. Okay, well, we crossed the 10-minute moving average there. But leveraging can go, well, you want to have a good probability, or you want the right risk reward setup. Most of mine, I have to take more on my winners. I've found very few setups that, you know, well, I take that back. I found a lot of them that were pretty okay on an equal risk reward basis, but I found more that worked on, 2-to-1 or 3-to-1. Patrick Rooney says, are people anxious about holding ESF over the weekend? That could be. Okay. Well, they hit me there. That was quite a strong move. Yeah. That might not, well, let's see what they do. I have to say, it looks like an impulsive order flow right now. People hitting into it like they're informed traders, but no actual evidence or follow through or suggestion that they are actually informed, that they're just reacting to what it did. Powell on quantitative easing, uncertain to its effect, uncertain as to bad effects, and certainly uncertain as to political economy characteristics. I have a strong desire, which I assume is widely shared, to avoid returning to the effective lower bound. I also suspect that the possibility of doing so is uncomfortably high. This was like a long, long time ago when Janet Yellen was still the chairman. On gearing up quantitative easing, again, I want to say a couple of things. First, I think we've never looked at asset purchases as other than a second best tool. I think that's been the way it's been talked about since the very beginning. Uncertain as to its effect, uncertain as to its bad effects, and certainly uncertain as to political economy characteristics. And I would put a decision to end investments and then a decision to reverse that as not at all akin to a decision to start asset purchases. Again, to me, they're two completely different things. I think if the committee were to decide to end investments and then 6 months later there were a shock, I think it would be an easy decision to begin reinvestments again on the grounds that we would have so little to work with in the way of rate cuts to make. That's an interesting thing for him to post at this time. I cannot find a decent trader which shares the proper strategy. Well, so let's just go back to what we were talking about earlier. The first thing that you got to realize, Equalize, is that what we consider a profitable trader and a consistent trader is often not realistic. Okay? And what we consider a good strategy or a consistent strategy is often not realistic. But the second thing is if I had a good trade, why would I give it to you? right? I want to take advantage of it. I don't want you to start competing with me for it. That's why I don't teach specific setups very often. I might point out specific things that I'm looking at this particular time. But really what I'm trying to teach is how do you watch the market and go through the process of finding a trade, right? And so that whole process that I was talking about earlier with the news, that's really something that you kind of have to do with everything that you're looking at. What was the market doing before? How are they positioned? What's the specific thing that's going on that makes you think that you have an edge? What is the specific market inefficiency that you believe has been created for you to take advantage of it? And then once you have a theory, you can start collecting data on it and seeing, okay, how well does it actually work? Gary said something about VIX can maintain heightened volatility for so long in this. This can be set up as a heightened breadth when I ask myself, are there any buyers left? Well, it seems to me that the trend has definitely flipped on us here. So, and Joseph took it long. It's easier to follow. Okay, now so I see people say that all the time, and I just have to tell you that is like one of the worst things that you can do. So, and this is and I only bring it up because there are people out there spreading bullshit and try and use this as an argument, but it's really just to manipulate you. Okay, so if somebody is a bad trader, then the reality is that the thing that they're using to trade, what they're using is really just random. So if you fade random, is it unrandom? No, it's just going to be random. So when you do that sort of a thing, you just both lose money. It doesn't do anything. There you go. Spend the least amount to acquire a chance for a win. Linwood is insane. I'm straight up, every time that I watch this guy tweet stuff, he talks crazy. And I really have to wonder that he really believes what the shit he's saying. He just tweeted something. Said, get the firing squads ready. Oh, you're crazy, dude. Okay, well, my overextended thing is saying now here. Will you ever collab? I would collaborate with another YouTube if they wanted to. Kind of depends on who it is, because there are some people that I really feel are being dishonest. But most of the people that you guys bring in and mention here are fine. And I'm starting to get to where I've been talking to them too. So like Futures Trader 71, I got a chance to talk to him. Anthony Crudelli and I will from time to time talk back and forth on Twitter. And some of the other guys on YouTube, I don't know. I'm sure they must know me because I did this first. But yeah, Fat Cat, I've heard that before, but last time I looked at him, there wasn't really anything there. I could go look again. But him, and I'll add him to the list, and Matt Trades and Brian Watt. Those are all seem to be in the business of showing full live trading. And obviously, I like my stream better. The thing that I have a hard time, I go to their channels, I don't sit and watch through a whole thing, because I look at it and I'm like, well, all they got is like one tiny little DOM that doesn't really tell them anything. How do you trade with that? Well, okay. Fair enough. But, but if I would love to talk to them at the very least. I don't know what we would do for collaboration, but one thing that I would do is, like, for instance, these guys, if they think that they have a consistent setup, is backtest it for them. Would love to do that. DOM is the best tool in my opinion. Yeah, well, one thing that you got to remember is that the DOM, the primary advantage of the DOM is its use as an execution tool, right? So you'll see a lot of people using it as an execution tool. But then there's all of this extra stuff that the Jigsaw DOM adds on top of it. And I really don't get how people trade it without those tools, frankly, because it's so hard to see it otherwise. But those other guys, they do it. They're not using Jigsaw, so. But you can read even so much as fake. No. Like, you're right that there's a lot of stuff out there that is fake, but if the fake stuff out there is screwing up your strategy significantly, I think you're looking at the wrong things. The most useful thing that you're going to see is when they move through and the market makers pull out of the way. That's what you want to see, right? You'll see it in the 10-year. This guy will pull, they'll tick down, this guy will stack, this guy pulls, this guy pulls, this guy pulls. It's when you're getting market volume coming in and it's causing the market makers that are buying to cancel those orders. That is the most significant thing you can watch in the tape. You say Matt is shady. I'm not gonna. I'm sure that to some extent he doesn't explain everything that he's doing either, does he? Oh, that's right, because I got one is long and one is short. And the Fournier guy is long at 3803. Two points from now on. Well, something that here's something I would recommend that you're doing, that you should do, is if you have a setup and you feel like it's a good setup, but you're having issues with it, just trade it equal risk reward. Trade it equal risk reward and look for, 2 to 4 points. I'm doing 4 points. And then go back and look at your stats after a month and see what your win rate is. And if you do equal risk reward and it comes out that your win rate is like 40, then that tells you that probably what you're looking at is random. And if you're able to get it to 50 or above that, then you might have something. And then it's a matter of optimizing it. Donald Trump says that he will not be at the inauguration on January 20th. Okay, well, I think I want to give it a little bit of time here. I need to take a break here, so I will be right back. You only use a VWAP for an indicator? Well, a VWAP definitely has there's definitely a reason why it's something that is so widely watched, but from what I gather from the academic literature, the market has determined that it's not good enough anymore. Yeah, why is Kumo not allowing everybody to be vaccinated? I don't know what's the deal with that. I keep seeing that pop up on my newsfeed from time to time, but I just don't know what's going on or what reason you possibly could have for. This is going to stop out that short here. Well, I suppose if we were to go short, somewhere around here would be appropriate. Okay. It's a very hard day. Yeah, I agree. The thing is that move down had a lot of characteristics, at least initially, of informed trading, but there doesn't appear to be any reason for it to be happening. And now it's like it never happened, you know? Well, there's the open. So I guess that one was wrong. Some strategies are very hard to program. Yeah. I think that usually when we find a strategy hard to program, it really means that we don't completely understand what we're even doing when we're trading it. Is what I think it really comes down to. There's components that are almost done subconsciously. You're factoring something in and you don't even realize you're doing it yourself. Because these more sophisticated things where you're using like neural networks and stuff, there's a real intentional and mathematical way that they go about programming those. Is just that they don't think of it from the perspective of like, okay, so when it does this and we're in this situation and we take it here. It's a completely different starting point. I don't know, man. That's really weird the way that it traded. Is it really just all about the treasury and the dollar here? Yeah. Oh, if millennials can buy all these trash stocks hand over fist and crypto money hand over fist, they surely can pay back their student loans. Oh. Oh. Hmm. Elon Musk is now worth more than ExxonMobil. What? Wow. I'm sorry, I yelled that way too loud. Ooh, Roku buys Quibbly's entire content library for under 100 million as backers face $1 billion loss. Ugh. I don't even know who they are. Quibi? Quibi? Is that how you say that? I like that touch way more, my friend. Yeah. Kind of want to reposition myself. It's okay. It's okay. Look at the candle here. It's significantly longer and more negative than anything else on the chart for the last 30 minutes. Yep, turning back now. Treasury list from January 8th doesn't include Alibaba and Tencent. Oh, okay. There's a move trapped a lot of people short. So, based on my positioning model, that was definitely true at some point, but it's balanced back out, and they're kind of in the middle of the road still. Which kind of makes me wonder about like the long, because probably the guys that took that short, actually, I don't know. It kind of looks to me like there was some market makers that aided on the whole way down, and they took it off as it came back up. Hmm. Okay. I don't think that got a new high there. But like I said, I don't know if the people that went short, I mean, from a market maker perspective, I can't say that, but really looks to me like a lot of people did not hold. Ugh. Not yet, yeah. I mean, the thing is that in order for it to be like on the buyer's side, we'd need 38.14. Wouldn't surprise me if they came in and shot through that area, but I don't know. At the moment, they have, so I was looking for the cross of that moving average as my trigger. Well, not as my trigger, but, I was kind of watching that. And now you look at it here, it's just rotating around it. It's kind of interesting, right? So after that move down, it kind of looks to me more like that they've just kind of turned back into churn mode. So I'm going to take it off there, I guess. I was hoping that it'd give me a better exit, but the thing I wanted to see didn't happen, so. It started to work, but it kind of sputtered out quickly, didn't it? Hmm. Any good movie art finance? Did you finish that book? I haven't yet. So I think I'm 2/3 of the way through it, but I haven't looked at it since I've been sick. I guess I should maybe try and look at doing it today, because I don't think that, I didn't want to do it because I was like, I'll fall asleep and I won't read it, but I think I'll probably be okay today now. Or maybe I was just lazy. I put it on your reading list. Yeah. I have to say that just what I have learned about the academic research on this topic alone has made reading that book worth it. Because really what I think this book comes down to is, like, you read it, and if, like, I was going to have a college course about market making, that book would be like the intro course. And then from there, you would start going into, you could look at any market making paper and you would have a much better idea of what's going on and what they're talking about. Did you take a look? No, I don't. Let's go back and look at that for you, Big Toasty. I mean, I did give you a response, right? Because you said a couple of things, and I was like, I totally get why you're saying that, but I did it all on purpose, and I promise you that that's probably the best way to do it. I'll have to go back and find it. There you are. Oh, no, I don't see any posts since the last one. I didn't look at this file that you attached, though. I have to look at that. If I can make $100 a day from trading consistently, well, here's what you do. I know how to do this, right, Chris? You go and you pick 5 stocks, and you know, in different sectors of the economy based on what you think the near-term macro outlook will be. And then you research a lot of information about those 5 stocks, and you buy them with a minimum of $5,000 to $10,000 worth. And when you do that, on an average up day, you'll make $50 to $100 every day. You won't take it out, you just let it run, but I mean, that's what you get from holding. No, I'm just saying. Okay, I'm liking this now. Yeah, okay.
Block sell.
Block sell. Look at the treasury go. 20 now. Did you see how, as the treasuries turned down lower, that the equities started falling apart? So it is 100% the yield here now at this point. That was like 20K contracts there, right? Yeah. Okay, so if that's Claridia, it is just talking there, and that might be an explanation for the move that we just saw, but the quote that I just heard didn't sound significant to me. Any instability that erodes confidence in capital spending is something we would have to look at, quote unquote. Sat, the system you just mentioned by 5 stocks, etc., you backtested that approach. So I am doing it right now, and that's about how much I make. And that's why I say that. But I didn't come up with it. Where did I get it from? I got it from Peter Lynch. Peter Lynch says pick 5 stocks and something that you know. And that's where he got it from. And will you outperform the market? Maybe, maybe not. But if you want to do this sort of thing, I think that that's the safest way to do it. It's hard for me to avoid pulling the target off when it goes my way, thinking I am going to catch a runner. I agree. Well, I mean, there are certainly some situations where we know that there's a potential for it to run, right? Like with it turning down here again, I think the chances of a new low and further are looking pretty good, especially with the way that Treasury is moving there. Like they careened through that. It must have been off of something Fed that Clarita said. Slow vaccine distribution is a concern. Right, but it often offers up a point which I don't take, and then it will turn and hit my stop. Yeah. It's very hard to get that immediate favorable excursion. The thing that I don't get is that when I'm doing well, I seem to get that good favorable excursion every time. And when I'm doing bad, I get the adverse excursion immediately every time. That's why I'm always sitting here like, why is it that I'm like... And even in places where I'm not necessarily expecting something like that to happen, you know? Like, I want to get in at a spot, and I don't particularly care where, and I'm just picking an area. And then all of a sudden, that happens to be, like, immediately where it turns. So it's like, what the fuck? I agree, it's weird, yeah. It's like something's watching me sometimes, I think. I've noticed that, like with my robots, you know, my robot will take it in a spot and you'll immediately see stuff out there. I almost wonder if there are certain market participants that do have the data to see who is what order, and they know which retail traders out there actually really have edge, and so when they see them trade, they adjust accordingly. I kind of wonder, because I just see some moves like that I find unusual in that respect. Areas where you consistently see volume moving in a certain way that I really don't think you should, or I didn't think you would. Like, I've told you about this before, right? Like, it's like a conspiracy theory of mine, I guess. So one thing that I think about whenever this comes up is on stocktradingschools.org or wherever it is, they did an interview with a spoofer, and he explained how they went through with the spoofing. And they specifically, they were saying that they would get somebody else to do it. That they would pay somebody to go and do, to do the spoof, and then they would be absorbing against it. And to do this, they had to, quote unquote, season the account first. And I think that was primarily because it couldn't be like you came in and immediately you did spoofing and then everybody would pick up on that. So you had to come into the account and take some reasonable trades first. But it seems to me like they were almost like seasoning the market. Like, it was like you had to come in and you had to take trades so that the market knew who you were first. And then once you had an established history, then you could do it. You know what I mean? So I'm probably just reading something into it that wasn't intended. But the way that they said it, it immediately made me start thinking that like, is it the case that the market looks, will see an account that's been around for a while, and they know that account tends to do okay, so if they took a trade there, we might need to reconsider it. And so you could have a thing where it's like they know that Ace tends to make a trade around this time, and it tends to be good. So when they see Ace make a trade, they try and follow it, and that's why it seems like it always goes this way so quickly. And when I'm doing it by myself, it doesn't work. It's because market really is following Ace. That's kind of what I'm getting at. And then on the other hand, it would know, well, Seth, he's traded a bunch of times and sometimes he does well, but then he has bad times, so we're just going to trade against him. Certain accounts are flagged and not retail unless you have size. You have to explain that more. It helps to have everyone in my trading room follow my commands. Yeah. Because something that I always thought was really weird about it is that when you take it early in the day, in particular, that it really does. It really is like nothing's going on, and then Ace takes the trade, and then that's when they decide to do something. And I was like, okay, maybe there's something. So then I start doing it, and it's the day that you're not there, so I take it, and nothing happens. And that happened so many times, and I didn't track it enough to really say that all I did is study on this, but I try to fly under the radar of our reptilian overlords. Oh my gosh, I haven't heard anything reptile conspiracy theory for such a long time. So I do think that the market is reacting to the Fed's Clarida's comments. I don't know why that ended up making it a negative thing here. And she, I think it's a she, right? Was not speaking an hour or so ago when that first downturn happened. So I expect inflation to finish the year higher than a year earlier, but still below target. And then there's things like this where, like, I have an order out there and it didn't fill me. Like, what the fuck? I'm wondering if those guys who broke into the Capitol were able to see the reptile command room. No. Well, the thing that's funny is, like, you can go to the congressional offices. So it doesn't surprise me that they were able to take over the congressional offices. And like I said, it's not even the first time that it happened, because, like, who was it? Occupy Wall Street. I didn't even think it might have been during Trump's term where some liberal protesters took over the offices. Do you guys remember that? It wasn't even really like big news. The Capitol grounds are now completely surrounded with fencing. Ugh. Oh, wow. Yeah, I can see it. But all the Donald Trump supporters are gone. That's so funny. Oh, Feds Clarita says that she is not concerned by the 10-year yield being above 1%. Cool. So that means we can sell it and make it go even higher? She's not concerned yet. Let's keep pushing it. Well, we're more interested in why they're rising than on any particular level. Oh, that's interesting. Oh, that is so smart. Okay, cool. And what's the difference between a politician and a catfish? One is a scum-sucking bottom dweller and the other is a fish. That's why they are dead. Oh my gosh. Don't remind me about that. Like, that's the thing. If somebody hadn't died... I was seeing some reports that a police officer died, but they were, like, unconfirmed. And then, like, 3 other people died from medical emergencies, which they don't really go into why, but it kind of makes it sound like that maybe they shouldn't have been there in the first place. US dollar edges higher after upbeat comments from Clarita. If I was in charge of security, I would have a lethal force zone in my house. It's inside of my doorway. Oh my gosh. Ace, did you hear that in Texas, there was a state senator that introduced a law that would make it illegal to defend yourself in your house? It would roll back the castle doctrine in Texas and would give you the obligation to flee if somebody enters your house. Can you believe that? That has to be the craziest political thing I had ever read. I heard that it was some soccer mom, right? I just was like, oh my gosh. How can you be so stupid? You know what it is. I didn't see anybody say this at the time, but I'm telling you, the communists just want to make it easier for them to do their destruction when the communist revolution comes. That's what they want. They want to just pull you out of your house and cut your head off. They don't want anybody to give them any fight. Tobias comes in, the first thing he says is, what do you think about Bitcoin? And Ace is like, I think you need a timeout. Listen, this channel, here's the thing. I could go and make a video about Bitcoin right now, and I could show you guys. I want to make a TikTok about it. I'm still going to make a TikTok about it because I think I got a good story and a song to use. But if I made a YouTube video about Bitcoin, I bet you I would get a lot of views. But last time that I did this, it was like that. It was like I got a ton of views, and it really didn't help the channel. It really didn't help the channel, and so I said no more Bitcoin. No more Bitcoin. So until after the 16th, we are on a Bitcoin vacation. We're not going to think about or talk about Bitcoin until after the 16th, next Friday. All right, and then we can talk about it. And maybe Bitcoin will have crashed by then because of the whole tether thing, and maybe not. But then we'll actually be in a spot where there will be something to talk about, because this whole like it just reached a new high today thing like doesn't. I don't care. That it bothers me that so many people care like that. Just realize that everybody caring about Bitcoin hitting a new all-time high is exactly the reason why the majority of retail traders lose so much money. I mean, it's a competitive game and they're going to lose money anyways. But when you guys are chasing assets like this, it just makes it easy for them. I remember a guy losing his house to a burglar because he didn't have a sign warning he had a dog. What? I've never heard of that. The communist revolution is no, I don't think that the reptilian overlords want communism, to be honest. I think that they're just using communism to their own ends, but really what they want is an oligarchy with the lizard people at the head. Well, I mean, the lizard people are already at the head of the oligarchy, but I think, the costumes are kind of itchy to them, I guess. So they want to, be able to run that oligarchy openly, is what it is. So that's where we're heading. So when you see people trying to normalize lizard people, this is the way that it'll start. Is they'll say, "Hey, we've been able to make this new genetic mutation that gives you lizard skin." And there will be this huge campaign that like lizard people are just people just like everybody else. And trying to normalize lizard people. Stop lizard shaming. That's exactly what it is. And you know why that is? It's because they want to normalize it so that they can rule out in the open instead of having to wear the costume all the time. That's it. News Squawk says Clarita asking anyone if they want more punch. Communists are close to Satanists. It's a lizard theocracy. Oh, is it? Is there a religion with the lizard people? What is their religion? Is that one of those things where, like if I do the hand symbol that it will signify to the drones that I am ready for fame and fortune? Because I am so ready for fame and fortune right now. Like, really. It's hard to pick up Earth chicks when you are shedding inside your human costume. So itchy. Oh my gosh. So I've been watching One Punch Man. Have you watched that? Because everybody says that I look like One Punch Man, and I'll watch it. And now I'm like, oh yeah, I should have watched this earlier because this is the thing. That's me, man. And in the last episode of the second season, they're fighting this centipede, and they did. Oh my gosh, this show is so crazy. It's like Dragon Ball Z, but like 100 characters and more action. and so it'll be like there'll just be a new fight between two minor characters that just barely got introduced or something like that. Anyways, they were fighting the centipede and they did like this ultimate attack sort of a thing, and you're like, oh my gosh, he really is because he's just a regular guy, and you're like, why is he an S-class superhero? And then he does that, and you're like, oh wow, he really is an S-class superhero. And then you think that it's killing the centipede, and all it does is it sheds its outer shell and gets bigger. This is brilliant. Someone just joining now entered the room about trading features, but they only talk about lizards. Right. Fed in the past has relied too much on one measure of the job market and its focus on the unemployment rate. Thank you. Hey, people have been yelling about that for 10 years and they finally admitted it. You should be happy about that one, guys. Kind of looks like they want to go down again, but my mouth feels weird. You know, I ate food but it doesn't feel right. Like, it must be that the disease is excreting toxins or something. I can taste it, or I don't know. It just doesn't feel right. New York Fed purchases $12 billion in Treasury coupons. Ooh. Ooh. Oh, did you actually did put Tobias on timeout for talking about Bitcoin? I'm sorry, Tobias. Baddies. It's I guess it's okay. You bet I did. Oh gosh. Well, now I gotta stay on for another few minutes and see what he asks. If you want to know Tobias, he's probably not still here. He probably left. You probably offended him. He's like, man, I come in and ask one question and they ban me because they hate Bitcoin. No. I do post my cryptocurrency charts on the Patreon. The link is in the video description. I don't post every day anymore because there's not much of a point in posting every day, but if you want a summary, you know, you don't want to spend the $5, you want the summary. I think Bitcoin is overvalued. So DDD 30% day. Okay. Well, I guess I did okay. That last trade, you know, when I saw things going and I really leaned into it, I made back what I had lost on those bad trades trying to sell it earlier. I really wish, though, that I had tried playing into the sell a little bit faster. It was really did hit down, and I just didn't see a reason for it to be happening. I could have followed it, I guess, in that situation. I don't know. On the other hand, maybe I should have just continued to stay out, or certainly not have taken it on the fade as it came back up, because it came back up so hard. Could have said, I don't know what's going on, and it's Friday. And my things took some trades, but overall, I'm gonna say that my robots didn't do super great today. I'm curious about these inventory bars. There's something to it, but I gotta figure out a better way. I think that this one, I should have it spit it out to me when it happens, and then I can make decisions off of that, because it does seem to give a good spot, but it doesn't actually have probability. It's sad that Travis is dead. I know. You know, I tried building a another version of him. Was it Travis? No, it wasn't Travis. So I was trying to build another version of Sean, but it didn't work both ways. I wasn't super into him. I can go back and look at Travis. There was other versions of Travis that were simpler that actually worked okay. So maybe I could bring him back. Okay. It is time for me to go, guys. Where do we put for today's title? A divergent date determination. Yeah. Because there's this thing where you'll get an overextension and they'll reverse. And there's this thing where you get an overextension and they'll continue further. And when there's news and everything else going on, and I can kind of judge that, but how do you determine that that's what's happening with technicals? I don't know. I tried using it with R squared, and that didn't do it. So, and nor did CCI. So none of the things that I looked at made it really improved its win rate enough. I think what I need to do is I need to get into one of those Markovian models that gives you, separates things into, two market regimes and use that as the filter. This is, I think, what I really need to do. Title. I don't want to put anything about lizard people. I'm just going to say, disappointing non-farms report. The insanity continues. Okay. I will see you guys on Monday. I guess I'll try and make a video about Bollinger Bands this weekend, I guess. And well, I guess it depends on if the kids leave or not. Oh, they're stuck here, so maybe I won't be making a video this weekend. Plus, I sound like shit. So yeah, I guess I won't. So no video. I just research. I get sleep. I'm trying to as much as I can. Hopefully I'm over it by Monday, right? Stay profitable, friends.